Hi everyone and welcome back. So in this video we are going to talk about token based authentication for production application. You might have already aware about Auth0, Firebase, Okta and all. You might have used them, but what if you want to build your own production system using token based authentication? We have already covered a session based, cookie based, and this is the token based end to end authentication service with the token based authentication. So typically the applications which you see on today's world, like you see the front end login screen, you see the login with the Google, Facebook, Twitter, or login with Auth0, Firebase, right? Or you might have integrated with the Firebase and Auth0, then you will see their login screen. When you enter, you give a consent. This is the auth flow. Here we are talking about a simple authentication service built by ourselves for our own product. We are not using Okta, Firebase, Auth0. Let's not talk about that. We are just trying to simulate a basic flow where we have a front-end NestJS application which will issue a JWT token. If you want to have a state-based, because JWT tokens are stateless, until unless you have some particular mechanism of refresh token and all, then you can manage a Redis or database. Otherwise, stateless token, that means you don't need to worry about anything. When you click onto the login, you enter username, password, and your application just gives you the token. So real world applications like SaaS based dashboards, microservices, e-commerce platform, and most of the applications all uses auth, login with a Google, Facebook, Auth0, Okta and all. What if you want to provide your own login password screen where you validate user based on your own credential and then allow user to access by granting him a token? Hi everyone and welcome back. Welcome to another module, and in this module we are going to talk about JWT, JSON Web Token. This may be one of the most popular term in the tech world because all the authentication decade back has been moved to token based authentication. Either it is a stateful or a stateless authentication process, and we are using different authentication provider. Either you just use a username, password, generate a token, you use Auth0, you use Okta, or you use Firebase. All these different providers, once you log in, providing some kind of access token, refresh token, ID tokens. So what are these tokens? These are tokens called JWT tokens, JSON Web Token. They have like three different parts. If you talk about these tokens are like this, divided into A.B.C. What it is? This is like, okay, token algorithm, token payload, where you can store some information, and then token secret. Enter secret using sign-in. So this is the secret is for verification. This is the header. This is the payload. This is most we need to discuss about, right? In the payload, once you logged in successfully, you create a JWT token, and you can also embed some meta information so that once user comes back, we can validate, okay, first the token is valid. Using the signing algorithm, we will verify that token because we will be using some signing algorithm or signing method. And then once the token comes back, we will verify using either JSON Web Token or some JWT library. And then we will decode this payload and we will receive this information. This information will be served to our APIs to know who the logged in user is, what is the user ID, what is the email, what is the role, all this information. So now we are going to talk about JWT token, how we can use it, how we can exchange between client and server, what is a stateless, what is a stateful authentication using JWT. So first of all, what is token based authentication? It is a stateless method because this is what is practiced. It is like a signed token against some secret. This token then sent to the client. Client usually send this token again back in authorization header on each and every protected request, right? To prove user's identity once you logged in. So token looks like this bearer. This is the token, and you are sending that in the authorization header with the bearer space, the token which you received, right? So you might have heard about stateful and a stateless. Token is a stateless. If it is a stateful, only when we start storing these JWT tokens whenever you user logs in. That is not practiced. You need to have a sticky sessions and centralized mechanism to store these tokens. So if the user is coming from a different server, he know, okay, your session still exists, your So your token has been stored somewhere, right? So mostly we use a stateless token for building as APIs and all, because you create a token with some particular expiry and that token is valid till it expires, right? Token carries all the information. But sometimes, so we'll talk about this stateful and stateless in the detail. What is the common use case of this token base? I mean, you are building a REST API, single page app, and you are building APIs which can have an interface mobile. Then obviously you don't worry about cookies and session much, right? Because your APIs will be used by mobile client, different interfaces. So it's better to provide them a token which can be interpreted and can be sent again back using REST interface and either mobile client. All these are comfortable, right? So token are practically stateless. You can store them at the client side if needed and send them back in the authorization header, right? You need to have some kind of a storage mechanism. Let's say I didn't store that in the local storage, and when I reload the page my token is gone. So either I need to use memory, I need to use cookies, or I need to use local storage. I need to store it at the client side so that I know, okay, I already have a token. Server will always validate whenever you send a token, right? So token based authentication is a stateless, scalable, that is more important, and a portable, and it is can be used across any device, any browser, across any device. Okay, so this is what a JSON Web Token. It is divided into stateful and a stateless authentication. It is mostly exchanged. This token is exchanged only through headers. You just send authorization header or XAPI key or whatever header you can decide. We just need to find a way to send a token in the header to the server. Then server will validate, check if token is not expired first, check the token payload. If the user is valid, then we will allow user to access the things. So now JWT, it is known as a JSON Web Token. Some people call it as a JSON Web Token, JWT token, but this is the typical structure of JWT. A.B.C. A is a header, algorithm and token type. B is a payload, and C is the signature, right? So this we have already discussed, okay, the header, payload, and the signature, right? Access token, and you might hear a lot about access token, refresh token, ID token. There are like different token. Auth0 uses access token or ID token. You can use a refresh token and access token, right? Access token mainly used to validate your all protected requests. Refresh token is only when your access token expires, but you don't want to user to log out. You already have a refresh token at the client side. You send the refresh token and get a new access token. You have a refresh token because you have already logged in. So we don't want user to log out and log in again. He can exchange the token and get a new access token in the exchange of refresh token. Refresh token, you can say like 7 to 30 days. Access token is short-lived, 15 minutes to 1 hour. JWT expiration strategy. It is like issued at, these are the 3 attributes which you will see in the Auth0 token also. Expiration time, expiration pattern. We should always keep a short access token. Refresh token can be, if we are not using refresh token, obviously user will be forced to log in, right? So token theft. Once you have a token, now here is the, if somebody steals your JWT token, obviously he can access the same set of APIs which you are doing, right? So store token in the HTTP only cookies, so it does not exchange or get stolen through the network traffic. But if somebody is coming to your laptop and copying the local storage or cookies, then that's another thing, right? No server revocation, but token theft you can avoid by just using HTTP only cookies. Send token not in API response, but in the cookies, right? Always specify the strong algorithm while creating a token. Use standard libraries like JSON Web Token. JWT token are self-contained if used properly, right? You can use access token, refresh token, and tokens are safe. Make them short-lived, like 15 minutes is the expiry of the token. So first we are talking theoretical aspect of what are the tokens. So let's talk about stateless and stateful architecture. I mean, this is true for any kind of authentication, either session, token, cookies. A stateful architecture or authentication means we are storing the state of the login or of the user. Like in session based, we are using Redis. In token based, we can store token also. By the way, token are stateless. One, you can create a number of tokens, and those tokens will be valid till the token expires, but I can have some mechanism where I can just have, let's say, a special requirement. If I allow user to log in from one system only, if user is trying to log in from another device, I need to force user to log out from the device one. In that case, to know all those things, I need to store the session in somewhere. So if I will check, okay, user logged in with the device one, I create a token and store in the database. User login from another device, I will check, okay, user already have a token created. Let's expire it, replace it with a new token. So the previous token is now gone. Once user try to access APIs and all, I will check in the database always. Does token exist in database or Redis? Okay, keep him doing the task. If the token already gone, that means he already logged in from another device. This token I need to force expire. JWT token you cannot expire. That is very important, very critical thing. You cannot expire, but you can have some kind of a system at a server side which you can add 2 additional checks. Tokens are not expired, but do I have the token in my storage? If not, that means for me this token is expired. I need to log out a user. So that is stateful authentication. I'm storing the additional state of the authentication in the database. So every time user access any API, I always check the token which user is using. Is this still valid in the database, in the Redis? Yes, keep him doing it. That is just additional overhead. But using this, you can force log out a user even if the token is valid, right? But in a stateless, you receive a token, you keep accessing the APIs. Nobody can force log out you until unless your token is valid, until unless application is down, right? So that is very crucial information of stateless and a stateful architecture in a distributed environment. We need to have a centralized data storage. Let's say request is coming from different app server or different Lambda or different application. Then you should have a centralized Redis or centralized RDS. So everything is synchronized, right? In distributed manner, you can face some issues, but in the stateless, user request can come from anywhere. There is a one common logic to validate the token. That is same across all the platforms. So these flows are very simple. Stateless, you do the login, you get a JWT token in the headers, in the cookies. You send the token in the authorization header to the server. Server will validate a JWT token, allow you access or deny. That is a stateless. This is how stateless authentication works for the protected APIs. You access the authorization header, verify the token, everything is good, allow you to access the API. Stateful, JWT is still valid, but the server stores the session metadata, maybe token ID, maybe the token itself, the revocation status and all, right? JWT payload include a session ID or token that you store inside a database, and you can use this to check if user session is still valid or not. You can force logout and all those things, which I already explained you. Stateless, revocation support require hacks, but you can do it. But revocation, you can revoke the token in the stateful. Yes, complexity is simple, complex. Stateful, you need to have additional mechanism to store, revoke, all these things, right? So till now I used only stateful. I had a requirement of having force logout a user once user logs into another device. Then I need to store the state in the database and force logout a user when user is trying to log in from another device. That can be done using stateful JWT token authentication. Hi everyone, so let's talk about token-based authentication, and for that we will set up a NestJS project. So I have these 3 projects. One is a session-based, one is a cookies-based, and then the third project I have is token-based authentication. I will just explain like the basic steps, how to bootstrap the NestJS. We have done already 2 times. This is the 3rd time we are doing. So NestCLI, create a new app, and then install all the required dependencies. Dependencies means NestJS JWT, NestJS Passport, NestJS Passport JWT, and bcrypt. The important modules are NestJS JWT and NestJS Passport, because earlier in the Express we used to include lots of library, Passport, JWT and all, but now NestJS provides their own version of these libraries. Then we will create a user service, user module, user controller, auth service, auth module, auth controller. So this is simple register, which is creating user service dot create. That will just populate the user in the database with the email, and the password is the bcrypt version of it. When you do the login, first we are validating the email. by comparing the password using bcrypt compare, and then we are returning the token. So how we are creating token? Using JWT service. And how are we getting JWT service from? We are getting JWT service from JWT module. This is taking care of providing us JWT service because we are registering a module and we are passing a secret, because without that you cannot create a token, you cannot verify the token, right? And we need to create an AuthGuard and a strategy. This is the AuthGuard which you will add at the controller for the private routes, and this is the strategy for that guard. Here we are getting this from bearer token. So once you log in, you get authorization, you get an access token. You will send the access token in the authorization header as a bearer space token. And this is JWT secret, same secret using which you have created the token. Same secret, JWT secret, and here JWT secret. And once you validate the payload, you will get the user in the request object. I mean, these are just different building blocks of different component. Here we are creating these routes: auth register to create a user, auth login to create login a user. You will receive a JWT token in the JSON response. Then you will send you access the auth profile by passing the bearer token. Okay, so we already have some setup ready, right, with the cookie based authentication. We'll try to understand it and we will try to change the implementation for token based authentication. Okay, so this is our token based authentication. I will go to package JSON first. In package JSON, what all do we have? NestJS JWT, NestJS passport, right? And then bcrypt.js. Bcrypt we don't need, we need only bcrypt.js. Then passport and passport JWT, and passport local if you are using a local strategy. But we need passport, passport JWT, NestJS passport, NestJS JWT. Okay. I mean, I'm using the existing code which we have used in the cookie based and a session based, so I'm not writing any new code. You can just follow up on the code. So here also we are writing app module. Inside app module we are using domain module, and here we are using database module, user module. Let me just check the auth module. Yeah, JWT module dot register. Here you can pass the options: JWT module dot register, and here passport module dot register. Default strategy session is false, and for that we have a guard. The strategies are here, and this is the access token guard, right? AuthGuard JWT, and this is access token strategy. In this code we are trying to access the access token from cookies, but in real time what we will do is extract JWT from authorization as bearer. Okay, this will be the code looks like. I changed the implementation a bit because now we will be getting the code, the authorization header from the bearer. I mean, from the authorization header we will get access token, and here we will be validating that against this secret key. So either you provide this secret key on JWT module.register, or you can specify here secret or key. We are using the same secret key for login. Like here we are doing login. So what we will do, we will not return cookies like this because we are purely using token based authentication. So what we can do is we can just simply return response. We are not using request, we are not using response. So this is login. Okay, login, it is validating the username and password. Here, if everything is good, it is creating token. It is creating token by simply using JWT service dot sign async. This is the data I'm adding in the token, and it is giving me the refresh token and access token. The expiry is 1 day. Maybe for refresh token I can just say 7 days. It gives me access token and refresh token, which I will get in the auth controller. This is the first step. You do the login. Now if you are trying to access any protected APIs, let's say refresh or log out, then we are adding these particular guard, access token guard. That means you can access logout only when you have token being passed in the authorization header. So for that, we are not sending cookies. We are just saying, okay, log out. One important thing here is, let me just remove this thing, because we are not doing any token thing now. Yeah, refresh token. So whatever the token we are getting, we are returning it. Refresh token guard, that means here also this is another refresh token guard. Refresh token strategy. This also will change according to that. So here we will be getting this from authorization as bearer. I'm just taking some help on the code completer. So we can just use this validate method. Yes. So for refresh token guard, we are passing the refresh token secret. We are getting the refresh token from the authorization header, and we are just doing all these validations. This is access token guard, and this is refresh token guard. All these are getting applied on auth controller. Like here, I need a refresh token guard. Here, I need access token guard. If I go to the user controller, where is user controller? Inside auth, user controller. If I try to access any other API, let's say this is the create user. This is fine. Here, if I try to update or let's say search or let's say one particular API, give me the list of all the users. Here I'm checking access token guard. That means you are passing the token in the authorization bearer. Role guard, because we are doing a role check. I mean, you can also skip it. This is for admin users because you are trying to access, you are trying to get all the users in the system. Okay, now let's play with this. So now let's play with the APIs. We already exposing Swagger, right? So we can just do the login and just try to go through all these APIs in the next section. Okay, so here you can register a user. I will just do is demo, or let's say root@gmail.com. 1 2 3. Okay, so this should be able to, password must be longer than 8 characters. That is correct. 1 2 3 4. Password is created. Now I will try to do the login. So username is root. So it should give me the access token and the refresh token. Permissions are not set yet, but this is the access token that you can set in the authorization bearer. Let's say I can put this here on the top. So this will be forwarded to all the APIs in the bearer. So I can just do users. Let's see. Yes, it is giving me all this data, right? But if I just, let's say, log out, that means I'm not passing any bearer token, then it is saying unauthorized. So it works, right? I can zoom it and show. If I just copy and paste the bearer token, because now I am in all these strategies, I'm extracting this authorization, this access token from the authorization bearer token, right? So it will allow me to access the user API and get all the users. If I just disable this thing, and if I try to access this API, I will get 401 unauthorized, because that is coming from this strategy, JWT strategy. Similarly for the refresh token strategy, once you're logged in, you can access all these information like get user domain. I mean, there is a role set of roles also, but that is fine. For this particular demo, this is how you exchange the token from the client to server, and then that same token you need to send back, because here you can see we are not sending any authorization bearer header. But when I set something here, authorize, execute, you can see the curl request. We are sending authorization bearer head authorization token in the authorization header, right? Access token. This is authorization is a header key, and this is the value. and our guard is able to decode this thing. First validate the token if it is valid, then extract the information, validate it against the same secret key. So for that we have specified the env file here, refresh token secret, access token secret, and this is my database connection to which we are connected. So I'm creating user, I'm validating user with this token. So the whole setup is kind of very simple. We are just creating a simple user controller to onboard users through user service and controller. Here you can see we are creating a simple user with the username password. Password we are creating hash version, that is the user controller. Now auth, we have a guard and strategy, similarly auth controller. Let's talk about the login. Here we are validating username password. If everything is good, we are creating token, access token, the refresh token using JWT service. This is not we built. We have already registered a JWT module, inbuilt JWT module. So now we can access the JWT service, sign a sync. It will create access token and refresh token with the secret. Because with the same secret, you need to decode and verify the token. Okay. And we just create this. And now when we are doing login, we are validating and getting the token. Now, once you're logged in, you will try to access any of these API in the user controller. Let's say give me the list of all the users, or update user, delete user, search user. Here I'm trying to get all the users, right? So for that I need to add access token guard. What this guard and the strategy is doing, if you see, this guard comes with a strategy. We are decoding the token from the authorization header, validating this against the secret key, same secret key using which we created a token. If everything is good, it will give us the JWT payload, the payload using which we created a token. And then you can just validate a JWT payload. In the payload you also have email. Just check, okay, you have that user with the same email, then yes, everything is good. You should allow user to log in. So this is all about the token based. I mean, this is the code, and I think you can play with the session based, cookie based, and token based. They are kind of similar because we just did enhancement. We didn't write the whole code again. Because if you see here, all the type ORM entities and all I'm using. This is the user entity. This is the database module, which contains database module, service, and config. Here inside DOM, I have authentication, core. Core module does not have anything much, but this is user module. Domain module is a part of combining user module and auth module. And the same domain module is being used here in the app module. Config module, we are using NestJS config module. It will automatically read .env and populate that in the process.env. DB module, this is a database module. We are registering at the root. All the type ORM stuff is happening in the database module. So I just created a wrapper on top of NestJS type ORM module. So we can just write past entities and all. Okay, that's it all about.